Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are returning to a time of darkness. We are returning to the Horus Heresy with Fafnir Rann, captain of the First Assault Cadre of the Imperial Fists. He is an absolutely wonderful model, and he is plastic. Who'd have thought, eh? Anyway, without further ado, we're going to jump in and start painting him. And, well, the colour we're going to be using first is Iyanden Yellow. I'm going to be doing this over all of Fafnir Rann's armour. Now, there is a lot of yellow on Fafnir, including the outside of the shield here. Now, we'll actually start with the shield here because I think it's a fairly good idea to demonstrate this. What we're going to be doing with the Iyanden Yellow is we want to, because it's quite a wide open section, we want to be kind of making sure that we're taking a section at a time. And thankfully, the shield is divided into these very easy to cope with sections. We don't want to do the whole of the back. A lot of it is going to be silver, but we just want to come around to around about there and anywhere else that it overlaps on the back. So for example, just in there as well. So using that Iyanden Yellow, what we're going to do is we're going to load up the brush, not that much. I'm just going to start painting this all over the top. He's been primed in Wraithbone. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. That might be the second time I mentioned it, or it might be the first. Either way, he has been primed in Wraithbone. And we're just going to start painting this all over. Just like this. Keeping towards the tip of the brush to make sure we get that nice, smooth finish with the colour. But if it is a little bit blobby in places, or a little bit too orange, do not worry. We're going to be doing a little glaze after this, just to sort that out. As any of you who have seen my previous Imperial Fists video on Lysander will know. So, we're just going to come around, make sure we finish that section so we don't leave any dark, scratchy bits. Just grab a little bit more paint here, not too much. Just don't want this to appear too orangey. There we go, perfect, just like that. So with that done, we just got under there as well. Don't want to miss that a little bit. So with that, we can now move on to the next section, which will be this bit here, stopping at that lightning bolt. Like that. We are just going for a really nice smooth finish, as I said. And then the next section is the trickiest one because it is the largest. It is this bit here. Basically, we want to start just there, come round, make sure we get right under there underneath the lightning bolt. And come up like that. Just watching for pooling as well. Just like that. There's a little bit in here. Don't want to forget that. Like that. And then of course, as mentioned previously, we've got the inner part of the shield just here. Which you don't have to be quite as careful on because, well, you're never going to see it. Just like that. So we want to go over all of the armour like this. I've started in a slightly weird place, but you know, as explained, this is one of the harder parts of the model to do. So I'm just going to continue my way around. So with that done, you should have a Fafnir Rann that looks somewhat like this. So what we're going to do now is going to strengthen out that yellow and also use this time to correct any mistakes that we might have made, but mostly this is just about strengthening the yellow. Now the colour we're going to make is a roughly 4 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Yriel Yellow, and this is because we want this to be almost like a glaze consistency. And we want to take this thinned down Yriel Yellow and we'll apply this over the flats of the panels of the armour. So for example, here on the shield, just like where we started before, we just want to get it on there just like that. Because it's nice and thin, it should be easy to work with. Don't have too much on your brush, because it's so thin, it can get away from you and run into the recesses. But if it does, don't worry. You can just clean off the brush and absorb it very quickly. As you can see, that's already nicely strengthening that yellow just there on that part of the shield. Just avoiding those recesses, as I said. And just down there towards the shield lip. Just like this. So you want to go around, picking out all of these areas with this colour. And then once that's done, we'll come back. So with that Yriel Yellow and Lahmian Medium mix applied, you should have this gorgeous looking yellow all over the model. So what we're going to do now is going to highlight it. And the colour we're going to be using is Phalanx Yellow. Now, what we want to do is we want to pick out all of the rivets. For example, these ones here on the knee. We want to pick out all of the edges. Just like that. Additionally, what we can do, if you feel up to it, is on some of the larger areas, I'm just going to do these little rivets there so I don't forget. We're not going to be highlighting any of the trim, so for example like this bit just here, we're not going to be highlighting that because that's going to be a different colour. But what you can do, if you feel like it, is you can come around the inside of these shoulder pads. Just like this, around the inside of the trim and of the decorative features. So for example, just here. So with that Phalanx Yellow applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to add a glaze of roughly 4 parts Contrast Medium to 1 part Iyanden Yellow. I'm going to get this all over all of the areas that we've just done. So this is just going to make those Phalanx Yellow highlights feel a little bit more part of the scene. It's going to add a little bit more warmth to the shadows, and it's just going to blend all of our colours together. We just want to, as I said, get it all over all of our yellow armour. So with that done, you should have this absolutely gorgeous yellow armour all over Fafnir. So what we're going to do is move on. Now, the next colour we're going to use is Iron Warriors. Now I know this is a little bit out of sequence as the normal kind of way that we do things around here, but well, it is one of the main colour features on Fafnir's scheme. So this is all of the areas such as the trim and, well, the mechanical areas of the backpack and of course the axes. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this Iron Warriors all over these areas. We're going to be very careful now as we do this. Just picking out. All of these details just like this. If you need a hand, do just keep an eye on the box art. There are some areas that are indeed black. So for example, the large part of the pauldron. But otherwise, pretty much all of it is silver. So with that done, as you can see, the model has taken a massive leap forward. And this is why we did this at this opportunity, because, well, we really want to be able to visualize it as how it's going to actually look. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the rest of the base coat, and then we're going to do the shades, and then we'll do the final highlights. So the colour we're going to be using next is Flesh Terror's Red. I'm going to be using this for all of the leather details around the model. So we've got the soft grips on the axes. Like that. We've got areas such as the Paterges down here. We've got the belt on his back. And the soft grip on the knife on the back. So with that Flesh Terror's Red applied, what we're then going to do is going to take some black Templar. I'm going to paint in all of our black details. So for example, all these ribbed cables on the axes. We've got the Imperial Fists iconography on both the shoulder pads. Got the axes just here. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Cygor Brown. I'm going to use this to colour in all of the dark leather details. So this is going to be areas such as the scabbard on the back here. Like that. As well as the little pouches on his back. Like that. So that's Cygor Brown applied to those details. What we're then going to do is take some Guilliman Flesh and apply this to his face. So with that done, just before we do the hair, we just want to let it dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Apothecary White and we're going to apply this to the field on the Imperial Fists logos. Just here and on the other shoulder pad. So with that Apothecary White applied, we then take some Gore-Grunta Fur. I'm going to use this on his hair and his beard. So with that done, what we're then going to do is take some Retributor Armour. I'm going to use this to paint in our gold details. Now there aren't many. There's the little fist icons just here on both the axes, on both the sides of the axes. Just like that. There's one. And the other is just there. And then we've also got some of these decorative features back here. For example, here on the scabbard and on the belt that we just want to block in with the Retributor Armour. So with that done, all of our base coats are now on Fafnir Rann. So it is now time to add some shades. Now the first one we're going to add is some Basilicanum Grey, and what we're going to do is we're just going to start applying this all over all of the silver. And it's going to make it nice and dark and industrial. It's going to really feel like it's part of the Age of Darkness, just as we want. Just like that. I want to get this over all of our silver details, so just be a bit careful when you get to the point where you're doing some of that really kind of fiddly trim. So with that Basilicanum Grey applied, we're then going to take some Fyreslayer Flesh. I'm going to apply this over the top of all of our gold details. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to add some highlights. Now the first one that we're going to do is Leadbelcher. It's going to be for all of our silver. So what we want to do is on all areas like the trim, for example, we just want to start picking out the edges, just like that. On the shoulder pad. Like so. Whereas on areas such as the axes, what we're going to do, we're actually just going to relayer the kind of top areas on the axe blades. Just like this. Just avoiding where that Basilicanum Grey is settled. So with that Leadbelcher applied to all of our details, what we're now going to do is we're going to add a little bit of that kind of slightly darker edge to some of these metallic areas that you can see on the box art. And the two colours we're going to be using for this are a 1-to-1 mix of Darkoath Flesh and Magos Purple. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mix on our brush and just on like the axe blades, for example, just here, I'm just going to add this like that. And then what we're going to do is going to wash the brush, grab a little bit of Magos Purple, straight from the pot. I'm just going to add it to this flat area on the axe. Just like that. Not too much, just enough to kind of give it a slightly purplier tone. Similarly, I'm going to take a little bit of this mix again. We're just going to add it, to add a little bit of colour into the recesses up here, or the recesses of that shield. Similarly, just here. Just whilst we wait for that to dry on the blades, they're looking pretty cool, but what we're going to do is just going to very quickly take some thinned down Corax White. We're going to use this to basically relayer the white field on the Imperial Fist logos on the shoulder pads. Just like that. So with that Corax White applied, what we're now going to do, still waiting for those silver details to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Dawnstone. I'm going to use this to highlight the black details. So with that Dawnstone applied, and the silver is now finally dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Stormhost Silver. I'm going to use this to highlight the blades. So with that done, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Administratum Grey, and we're going to use this to add just a little spot highlight to all of our black details, so by picking up the absolute corners and the rivets. So with that done, our black and our silver details are all now finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the red, and the colour we're going to use to highlight this is Jokaero Orange. So with that Jokaero Orange applied, we're then going to take some Liberator Gold, and we're going to use this to highlight the gold details. So that Liberator Gold applied, we're then going to take some Skrag Brown. I'm going to use this to highlight the hair, as well as the dark brown leather details. Just like that. So with that hair highlighted, we're then going to take some Flayed One Flesh. I'm going to use this to highlight the facial features. So we're just going to pick out all of the raised areas. For example, the tip of his nose, the bridge of his nose, his brow, his cheekbones, all of it. So with that Flayed One Flesh applied, we're then going to take some Black Templar. I'm going to apply this over the top of his eyes. Just like that. So with that Black Templar applied, what we then do is we take a tiny dot of Screaming Skull. We're going to apply this to the corners of his eyeballs, just like that. So with his face done, we've now just got one thing left to do, and that is the gems and lenses. Now we've got a gem just here on his gorget, and we've got the two big ones just here on the shield, as well as the gem in the hilt just there. Now, first colour we're going to use is Flesh Tearers Red. We're going to be using this just on this one here on the front, just like that. Nice and simple. Just grab a little bit more. Just make sure it's a nice strong red. There we go. Perfect. And so with that Flesh Tearers Red applied just there, we're then going to take some Akhelian Green. I'm going to use this on the gems on the back. So on the shield, just there like that. So with that done, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Jokaero Orange. I'm going to use this to add a little highlight to the bottom right corner of our red gem. Just like that. And with that done, we're then going to take some Temple Guard Blue and do the same thing on our blue gems on the back. And with that done, just because it is so much bigger, what we're going to do is we're going to take a tiny amount of Baharroth Blue. I'm just going to add it towards the kind of apex of our highlight on the large gem. And then lastly, just to finish off all the gems, I'm going to add a little tiny dot of Corax White in the opposite corner to where we've added our highlights.
And so with his base done as well, Fafnir Rann is now finished, leaping off the pages of the Black Library, Siege of Terror novels and onto the screen before you. He's an absolutely incredibly detailed, wonderful, wonderful miniature. I love Breacher shields, I really do. They're my favourite thing from the sort of Horus Heresy range. just the sheer weight of them, that just makes them look so awesome, and it's really cool to see a Fafnir Rann finally brought to life in plastic. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these absolute bosses have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks, just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.